Good morning and welcome to Morning Brew with your girl Germaine. And yes, it is Authors Brew Friday. And yes, we do have a special guest in studio with us today that I am so excited to be able to talk with her because, even before starting the live, we just really had an opportunity to talk about our story. And I said to her, oh my goodness, I wish we were recording this. So now we're going to bring the insight of that story to you. So today's brew is going to be When a Lie Becomes the Truth. And this book was authored by Jackie Harden. So let me tell you a little bit about When a Lie Becomes the Truth. A family saga where Jackie courageously sets out on a journey of self discovery and share the gut wrenching truth about deeply held family secrets. This is a story of one woman's struggle to move past the pain of lies, loss, and deception to arrive at a place of peace, redemption, truth, and triumph. Just in that summary, I can probably say for myself, it's already relatable. So I can only imagine those out there that this story is going to relate with you. But let me not take any more time. I already have my coffee. Let me just go ahead and bring Miss Jackie up in studio with us. Hello, Jackie. How are you?
Wonderful. Nice to be here.
Oh my goodness. I know we have been kind of taking some time, even though we just met not too long ago. And so we've been trying to plan to get you in studio with us for Authors Brew Friday. And here you are today to share this powerful story. Oh my goodness. Now, listen, we might need to put a warning sign to let people know you might want to get some Kleenex because this is one of those stories that we all might be in tears. So, how are you today? You have no idea. I'm really excited that you are here to share this powerful story, When Lies Become the Truth. And we are living in a time right now that is so befitting for what we're dealing with every day in life right now. But you're going to go really deep into sharing what this title means to you and why it's so important that you shared this with the world. So let's talk about it. First of all, tell me about the title itself.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really a joy to be here. And the title, When a Lie Becomes the Truth, really speaks to my life's experience.
Hmm.
So I was born into a set of circumstances that's, I had no idea what my parents had gone through or any of the backstory. We all of us get born into a family,
That's
and
true.
all we know is what we experience. Children learn what they live. However, as I got older and things happened that weren't so pleasant, God bless you,
Thank
the
you.
pain pushed me to want to better understand my circumstances, made me want to really discover the real truth, not just what I was being told, but what the truth really was and is.
Wow. So, with that, how old were you when you started coming into the knowledge of this truth?
So I was 9 years old when I moved to Newark
Okay.
to live with my mother. As a young person, I lived with my father and his wife.
Okay.
And so when my mother came to get me from Philadelphia, shout out to all
Yes.
those folks from Philly, Germantown in
Okay.
particular.
Okay.
um, yeah, so she came to get me, and I was elated to be with my mother. I knew she was my mother. I was kind of, it was weird the dynamic in my family. And because for my father to be my father, I'm like, this really isn't making sense. And we'll get into that
Okay.
as we talk more. But from the moment that I came to live with my mother, uh, and I would say, shortly after I came to live with her, is when some things started to happen that were traumatic for me. And then a few years later, my older brother came to Newark as well. And at that time, when my brother came to Newark, that's when my mother decided to tell me that my brother is not my brother.
Now,
He
how old were you when you got that news? That's a bombshell. Someone that you've always known to be your brother.
Right. So I think if I remember correctly, he moved to Newark when he was 15, and he's 3 years older than I am. So I was 12.
Well, okay. Okay. So your
And
mom,
so,
go ahead. Go ahead.
so at that point, that was just crazy to me. I had lived my life believing that my brother was my brother, although I was still trying to figure out how that could possibly be. And then for him to come to Newark and there be this this family meeting where where we're told we are not brother and sister. Well, why aren't we brother and
Yeah.
sister?
Yeah.
So my grandmother raised my older brother as her own,
Okay.
and my mother raised me as her own.
Okay. So that was trauma in itself. Getting at that young age, getting that type of information when all your life you had known that this was your sibling, this was your brother. So it was told in a family discussion. Why now? Why do you think now they share that information?
Well, what I discovered is that my mother told her living boyfriend that she only had one child, and that was me. So she had to make that distinction very clear, because we lived in a two-family house. My grandmother was on the first level,
Mhm.
my mother was on the second level, and my grandmother acted like my brother was her son. So, and that was happening. So, Germaine, the truth is, it was happening all along in our lives, even
Mm.
before we lived in Newark. But like I said, when we're born into a family,
Yes.
what we know is what we experience. So when we were with my father, we were brother and sister. When we would come visit my grandmother and my mother in Newark, that's when there was division. That's when the
Mm.
distinction was made. Okay, my older brother goes to stay with my grandmother, and I go to stay with my mother, and we were separated. Even though we still spent a lot of time together, there was a separation, but we were so young. I tell people now, my brother and I were catching the train from Philly to Newark at
Like
ages 3 and
12.
6
What?
by ourselves. My father would take us to the train station at 30th Street train station. We would
Okay.
get on that train, and we knew to hold hands and stay together. And we would come to Newark, and my mother and my grandmother would be here to meet us. I'm
Oh.
telling you, God looked over this child right here. Yes,
Early on, right?
early on.
Wow. So with that being pretty much one of the first times that you didn't realize what was happening, you just went with the flow and had to deal with your emotions however you had to deal with your emotions, right? Through this.
Pretty much. But I
Mhm.
always went to my brother, and I was the one who was vocal
Okay.
in the home. I was quiet outside. I knew
Mhm.
how to present myself in public,
Mhm.
but behind closed doors, I was the one who was asking the questions, and I would go to my brother, and he was the quiet one
Mm.
inside the home and outside of the home. And he would ask me to please just leave it alone. And that bothered me because I wanted the truth. I
Absolutely.
wanted the truth.
Now, it just you and your brother? Did you have other siblings?
We have a younger brother. All of
Okay.
us have the same father, but my
Mhm.
younger brother has a different mother. But
Okay.
my younger brother's mother raised me and my older brother until I was 9 and until my older brother was 15.
So that's when you moved back to Newark with your mom and your grandmother being in the same household, pretty much
Right.
the same house. All right. So, well, let's talk about the journey and how it just began to evolve. Whereas like I said, when I first saw your title, it's such a bold statement, but it also made me think how many people can relate to it.
Well, yeah, we're living in a time when lies are being told to the extent where you tell the lie often,
The more you
repeatedly
tell it.
until people really believe it to be true. And so that's what happened in my family. The lie was that my older brother and I were not siblings. The lie was that my mother only had one child, which is myself,
Mhm.
when the truth is that my older brother is her child as well. The lie, there were so many lies, Germaine, that I
Mm.
discovered in the search for truth.
Wow.
Um, the lie was that I was not being sexually assaulted. When I went to my mother to tell her what her boyfriend at the time, he was not her husband at that time. And
Mhm.
I actually found the courage to tell her because I thought if when she told me she was going to get married to this man, I'm like, oh
Mm.
no, you can't marry him.
Oh, wow.
Let me tell you what he's doing to me, thinking that if I
Mhm.
exposed the truth, that she would choose me and not him. And that did not happen. Unfortunately, my mother accused me of lying and went ahead
Mhm.
and married this man. And so the lies just from a very young age on. When you tell one lie,
Yeah,
it's true. You got to tell another lie to cover up the
exactly.
first lie, and you keep lying, and then you don't even remember what the real truth is.
You
So
now believe in the lie.
just believe in the lie because
Sounds familiar with today, right?
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
yeah. So that's I know it's been years of this experience, but it's still your experience. And even as you're sharing it, my heart is going out to this little girl. All you know is that mom figure, or your grandmother, and for them to protect you and to cover you. And they're going to believe, I mean, for their own for whatever their reason is. And you find that a lot, how the man is chosen over the child themselves. How did you deal with that as a young girl?
As a young girl, I I was still trying to process it. It actually wasn't until I gave birth to my daughter
Hmm.
that it became very clear to me that things had to change. I was not going to just go along to get along and perpetuate the cycle of abuse.
Mm.
And so I was still in self discovery. It was really about my own identity.
Yes.
Identity. I was trying to figure out who I am, where I came from,
Mm.
while navigating the journey of motherhood. But I will tell you, Germaine, that in writing this book, and I didn't publish it, I self published, I
Okay.
did not release it until 2016. And I often share that if I had told my story any sooner, it would have been a different read. I would have come from a different place. By 2016, I had done a lot of internal work.
Hmm.
I had discovered and uncovered so many lies that I came to grips with,
Wow.
and had an opportunity to talk to my mother and my grandmother about. And my grandmother did not want this story to touch her, God bless her soul.
Mm.
But I wasn't just fighting for myself. It was a fight to break the cycle of abuse. It was about my daughter, and it was
Yes.
also about my own mother, because what became very clear to me is the journey of womanhood. One thing I will never forget is what my grandmother said to me as she was dying. She said, Jackie, if I knew, first of all, like I said, she wasn't going to let this touch her. She said, I don't know anything what you talking about, girl.
Mm.
And, but I said, Mom, and I called my grandmother Mom.
Yes.
I said, Mom, I'm going to share this story. I wish that we could have talked about these things and resolved them among ourselves. But that didn't happen.
Mm.
So I'm going to share this story. And I need you to know that I am exposing the lies. And she said, well, what I'll tell you, girl, is if I knew back then, like I know now, that women could actually choose to have, to get pregnant without being married and have children out of wedlock with, and totally be, and it totally
Mm.
be acceptable,
Yeah.
I would have done some things differently.
Mm.
So, in its own way, that was an admission of guilt.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's as close to an admission of the truth that I was going to get from her.
Absolutely.
And my grandmother was born in 1922.
Okay.
So, having a child out of wedlock was taboo, which she did. My mother was born out of wedlock. To be married and to stay married was the thing that you did. You didn't get divorced. I don't
Mm.
care how bad it was. Very few women got divorced because you were stigmatized because of that. My mother was born in 1940, and the abuse that she suffered and never talked about.
Mm.
You see, we're as sick as our secrets. So she held that secret and it perpetuated itself. So then here I come. I'm born in the 60s. And even though things had changed significantly for women in the 60s, they still had a long way to go. But
Yeah.
by the time I wrote this book, I could look back and see the evolution of womanhood, and
Mm.
and and what it means to be able to make choices and decisions for your own body, for a woman to be able to choose her own, for herself, what her life will be.
Wow.
It hasn't always been this way, and we're still fighting.
Yes. Whew, that's a lot. I had to just I want to put this up. Something you said. We are as sick as our secrets. And the thing is we just continue to cover it up and cover it up. So you found the courage and the strength, even after letting your family know this story had to be told. You found the courage enough to tell this story. Something you said, even as we were preparing for this, you said this book came out in, you said 2016? Wait,
Yes.
2016, but it could not have come out earlier than that because you weren't ready or you were still processing through so much. So the book came out right when it was supposed to, but anything before that, you said it would have been a different story.
Oh, yeah. Because I had a lot of anger and I was hurting
Yeah.
so deeply that the story would have been told from a very different place emotionally.
Yes.
So by 2016, I had done a lot of work to so I tell the story in the book of how my experience of going for therapy really opened me up to realize that what I'm dealing with is some heavy stuff. When you tell your own shrink or psychotherapist your story and her jaw drops,
Wow.
I said, okay. So I thought I was having some issues coping, but no, Jackie, you've been coping all along. This is really a lot to unpack
Yeah.
for any person, be it a young person or otherwise. It's a lot to unpack. And I'm just grateful for the journey, Jermaine. I'm
Oh
grateful
my gosh.
to
Wow.
have my sanity. I'm
Absolutely.
grateful for the peace that resides within my spirit. I'm grateful to have had the courage to stand in truth and just get rid of the shame, guilt, and embarrassment because that kept me stuck for so long. We have a tendency to allow the shame, the guilt, and the embarrassment to keep us silent. And in that silence, we remain stuck. And there was a time when just to even think about telling the truth would choke me up. Like,
Oh my
how can
God.
I even speak this? This is so horrific.
Wow. Wow. You just tapped into a conversation I had earlier in the week in a morning brew that really talked about the shame, us being stuck in a place of not being able to overcome and share our stories because it's we're ashamed of it, or not taking the responsibility. And when I say taking the responsibility of our stories, that this is me and I've gone through this and I'm going to own it, because it takes the power out of the hand of somebody that wants to weaponize it for their purpose, and it frees you. I can only imagine how you have begun to start feeling a freedom the more you begin to journal your story and really talk about your story. How was that whole experience for you, to be able to walk in a liberty and a freedom now that you are starting to expose it?
Well, as I said, I could have shared the story sooner. I could have shared what experiences had occurred up to a certain time. By the
Mhm.
grace of God, I've always been one to journal. And for a very long time, I wanted to share my story because I was trying to make sense of it. I said,
Yes.
maybe if I tell somebody about this, they can help me to make some sense of this because this
Yes.
just does not make sense. And I kept those notebooks. I still have them. And
Mm.
to be honest with you, in 2013, I had a coach, and I was at that time promoting a health and wellness
Mhm.
product for a company called Visalis.
Mhm.
And I had a team of people, and I was selling this protein shake. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm all about health and wellness. And I wanted to develop my team.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular coach I had hired was all about team development and very skilled master coach. So in talking with her, I said, I wish people knew what it takes for me to show up the way I do.
Oh my goodness.
Because I get told, oh, it's easy for you, Jackie, as if I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. And I get
Mm,
emotional when I think about it because so often we have no idea what people are really dealing with.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so I have learned how to maintain my composure in public. I'm poised and professional
Mm,
as I can be. And I've always taken my life's work seriously.
yes.
And this particular, so it was a multi-level networking company that I was a part of. And one thing about MLMs is they really push personal development.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
So, and by 2013, I had already been through therapy and done a lot of internal work. But this particular coach asked me, like, well, Jackie, what do you really want? And I said, I want people to know what it takes for me to show up the way I do. And I really like to tell my story. I've written a lot of notes and I've wanted to write a book. And I just know it just hasn't happened. And so it was at that point that I began to take publishing my story more seriously and started pulling together my notes and started um, organizing the story. I got in touch with a self publisher, and even then, I will tell you, the story was still unfolding because
Oh,
in 2014, that's when my brothers and I had the DNA test done to prove paternity. And
wow. Okay.
that was anticlimactic for all of us because it was just confirming a truth that we all already believed. But by that time, my father was dead.
Mm.
And the person who we wanted to really hold accountable and confront, he was dead.
He was gone. Yeah.
But I will tell you, I had my say at his funeral. And I talk about that in the book. Um, I was at peace
Oh,
with it. I had my say at his funeral. But to have this bit of information to prove paternity was huge because my grandmother was still alive. My my mother was still alive. My stepmother passed in 2013.
okay. Okay.
And I acknowledge her in my book. I'm very grateful that she raised me as a young person. Um, Eternally grateful for that.
Mm. Wow. You just keep unfolding more and more. And you're so calm in it. But I know years have gone by and you have really worked on you to be able to stand on platforms and really be able to talk about the pain of your journey or the lies that you have encountered. But even as a young girl, I sense you've had this voice in you. You've had this fight in you to want truth, even as a little girl. How
Absolutely.
so um how is that just showing up even in your present life, when you look back and you think about, they always say it's hard trying to find your voice in the midst of a lot that's going on in the world. But as an author, that's exactly what people are doing. They're trying to find their voice. So it's hard when people come to me as a book publisher and they've engaged with other companies, maybe how they want to quiet their voice or shut their voice down, and it's like you fight so hard to find your voice. So as a little girl, just being developed over the course of time, it's like you were on this journey of discovery of knowing, like I need to know. at all costs because you sensed and felt that something was just not 100%, I guess, right?
Absolutely. And it was in becoming a mother that really catapulted me to a whole nother level because I did not want my daughter to experience what I had experienced.
Mm.
And so now that she's an adult and many years have passed and she's a professional in her own right, I tell her every time I look in her eyes, I'm so grateful
Oh,
because she made it worth the journey, right? She made it worth it. So now it's not just about Kristen or my mother. It's about all the other young people out here, young women in particular, who are or who have experienced something that I've experienced, and they're seeking peace and wanting to know how to get to a place of peace, internal peace. And it is a journey. It is definitely a journey. So, now as I coach and I have shared my message publicly as a TEDx speaker. And I
yes.
talk about the courage to love because hating is so easy. That's the easy way out.
Ooh,
But it'll kill you because that toxic energy will fester. And I say that dis-ease becomes disease and it will take you out.
say that again. I need to just post that in the comments, but say that one more time, the last one.
Dis-ease will become disease
Oh
and
my
it will
gosh,
take you
literally
out.
you just broke the word up. It's the same exact, you just broke the word up and you just really,
Absolutely.
wow. Disease will become disease.
And it will take you out. And you are worth it to heal. So it hurt, right? It happened, it hurt, and you deserve to heal.
Yeah, yeah.
It was never your fault. And that's one of the big things that I discovered and really changed uh, how I felt about all of the mess that I had uncovered. It was never my fault.
That's it.
It was
Oh,
never my fault.
I think that's probably one of the hardest things that those that have dealt with trauma and have been victimized, they take on the ownership as if it was their fault. And I think that's probably one of the most difficult things to really overcome in just believing and knowing it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, but we're Trump. So the trauma happens, and then our family wants us to stay silent
Hmm.
and ostracized. You're isolated. You're told to shut your mouth. You as a child, I was told to be quiet. I was
Hmm.
to be seen and not heard. I felt invisible. Like, how can all these things be happening, and we're just gonna let things continue as if nothing occurred?
Wow. Once again, that's a violation also after you've just been violated. And
On
now
so
family.
many levels.
Oh my gosh.
On so many levels.
Wow. Did you ever have the opportunity to sit with your mom as you started to discover more and more, or even to even address with your mom when she didn't believe you when you tried to tell her about the trauma you experienced early on with the man that she married?
So before I released the book, I had a meeting here in my home with my mother, my brother, my daughter, my brother's wife, and an aunt. And I read excerpts from the book. I gave them opportunities to read the manuscript and to give me feedback. And I asked my mother how she felt about me releasing this book. And she was very nonchalant about it. I felt my mother had a way of just clamming up. and staring at me as if I had three eyes, or just
Mm.
staring through me, basically. And so she said that she wanted to apologize to me.
Okay.
And I said, apologize for what? And she said, everything. Now, to some, that may have been wonderful, but to me, that just glazed over all that had transpired within my entire existence.
Mm.
I want to, I want to apologize. And I had to ask for what? Like, typically,
Specific. Yeah.
when a genuine apology is rendered, is that I want to apologize for saying an untruth about XYZ. I want to apologize about this, that, or the third. Like, let's be specific.
Yes, absolutely.
There was no specificity.
Mm.
And but I appreciate, I did thank her for her apology. And I expressed to her that I wish she were able to really connect with all of the atrocities that I have endured. And
Mm.
she's been present for the entire experience.
Okay.
And to have gone to her time and time again seeking truth, and to have been denied the truth, and to have been made to feel like I was the villain. Like, how dare you
Yeah.
ask questions? How dare you speak about these things? Just shut your mouth. And I have to say, I had to apologize to my mother at a certain point, because I tell the truth in the book. I said some things to my mother along the way that I'm not proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I was so angry. That's why I said, if I had told this story sooner, it would have come across angry. But
Yes.
I
Yes.
hope that readers feel the sincerity in how I share the story, because I do tell it quite quite honestly. And I'm just so grateful to be able to land in a place of love, to end in love, and to know that when my mother passed in 2021 from COVID, she died suddenly. But
Okay.
before she passed, I had taken as good a care of her as I could. I did the best I could as a daughter. I forgave her. See, peace resides in the forgiveness as well. But the forgiveness starts with self. I had to forgive
Yes.
myself for a whole lot. But I forgave my mother. And on the night before she passed, I didn't know that would be the last time that I would speak to my mother. She
Mm.
had BiPAP on for oxygen. I said to my mother, I love you. She couldn't speak, but she gave me the thumbs up and the fist bump.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I really just see how you released her. You gave her an opportunity to be released in that moment for her to know it was okay to transition in a level of peace. But, I often think sometimes, what did our loved ones go through that they just kept the secrets? And so sometimes they're so programmed because they may not have had the courage, and more than likely they didn't have the courage to want to seek out and get the answers. They just decided to live with the pain and the shame of it all. And so when you think about, do they have the capacity to really give us what we need to help in healing? Sometimes they just don't, because they never dealt with the pain themselves.
That's so true.
But you broke generational curses, literally, that the future of your kids and your grandkids don't have to experience that or carry that, that curse, in the lineage of the life of your bloodline. And so Oh my gosh, it's so heavy, but there are so many people out there hurting. And even one thing you said, when you were asked, what is it that you want people to know? It's not easy showing up sometimes. And people can look and have an opinion, or they can gauge what they think they know. But there are so many masks being worn every day in life to protect one's heart. And sometimes all people want is just to release and feel that it's safe to do that.
Absolutely. And that's
I
been one of the blessings in sharing my story. There has not been a time when I have shared my truth that someone has not come up to me and said, wow,
Yeah.
I feel like you're telling my story. Thank you. And then they'll share their truth with me. And everybody isn't going to go public with their
Mm-mm.
story. I'm
Not
not
at all.
saying that you should, but
Not at
I
all.
do encourage people to share their truth until they're satisfied. Don't allow your truth to be silenced if it's making you sick, if it's making you hurt. You deserve to be free. And
Wow.
whatever it takes to get there is whatever it takes to get there.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. I say, I say wow because I feel the love in your heart. And I know that's one thing you said. If you had told your story earlier than its release, it would have been a different story because you have not received that love to be able to accept the things that have happened and get an understanding. And I'm quite sure you're still uncovering even today in your life's journey as you begin to expose your story, and you've packaged it in a way to be able to help others. So, but I sense and I feel the love from you. And we're not even sitting next to each other, you know? But there's such a grace on you that is so evident. And I know it has to attract people to you because people are looking for a safe space. They're looking for a place that they can get the healing, for those that are experiencing it right now and not knowing where to go, how to get the answers, who can they trust when they've been so violated. So, can you talk to us about how you turn your story into your power? And I talk about that being a publisher, and even on Morning Brew with Germaine. I just recently talked about that in a morning brew, that our story is power. There is power in our story. And what one may have endured in their life's journey, it is for someone else. Most times, you've just been selected as the one to be able to go through what you've gone through because there was something special about you that you wouldn't hold on to it, maybe, that you could be trusted to share it with others, to help others be healed and set free as well. I don't know. God works in mysterious ways.
Wonders to behold, absolutely.
Yes.
I shared with you earlier. I said, there were times when I would read the story and I would weep for that little girl, and then I would say, "Oh, it's gonna be okay," because that's me.
Yeah.
But yeah, to really sit with all of your experiences, even now when I think about it, my heart breaks for that little girl.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for little Jackie. I am so grateful
Mm.
for her. And I'm grateful for this Jackie.
Yes.
The self love is important, and not in a narcissistic kind of way, but we have to get to a place where we can forgive ourselves
Oh,
and love ourselves and really appreciate and acknowledge ourselves for what it has taken to be here. There are people who have gone through far worse than I have, but then there are people who have gone through far less. And I'm just grateful to be able to share my story and hopefully create a safe space for other people to realize that they're not alone. One of the things that I felt for many years is that I was alone. I felt isolated. I felt that I couldn't share this story. I was ostracized within my own family. And so I acted out in ways that I'm not proud of. And I had to figure myself out. And I'm telling you, motherhood really helped me with that. My desire to break the cycle of abuse really shifted my whole life. My why was my daughter. And
Wow,
and in wanting better for her, I created a better outcome for myself.
that's powerful. How was your daughter when you first shared this your story with her?
So the truth is, my daughter has always known me better than anyone else. And I
Mm,
well up when I say that because what I know also to be true is a lot of mothers do not share themselves authentically with their children. And so, what I wanted my daughter to know is that she matters to me.
yes.
And all of this craziness is not her fault. And I said to her, I'm going to share information with you on an age appropriate basis. But I want you to realize that what I'm sharing with you is the truth as I know it. And if you don't believe me or if you don't feel satisfied with what I'm sharing with you, I want you to do the research. I want you to investigate
Hmm.
until you're satisfied. And if anything ever happens to you and you come to me with your truth and I don't respond to you the way you want or need me to, I want you to tell it until you're satisfied.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Don't you ever silence your voice.
Wow. Whew, that was a lot. That was a lot in there, you know. You made me think about my own mom, and I'm so grateful that I did have a mom that was so open in her communication and gave us the space to be able to grow into the woman, me and my sister, that we are today. But I can sit and talk with my mom about anything and know it's safe, and there's not a level of judgment, but there is correction at times, you know, but being able to be heard. And then also listening to you, just equipping your daughter with until you're comfortable or until you get what you need,
That's right.
releasing her to even to do that. That's powerful. But oh goodness. So what's next? I know you have some things coming up that is going to really be able to help us as a people um better and change our lives, our position, especially with everything that we are engaging in right now in America and what's going on with healthcare system. What's the new initiative that's on the rise that's getting ready to launch for you?
Yes, so I am about to launch a Take Back Your Health, Reclaim Your Life program that starts on October 27th. And we will be meeting on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
Okay.
to talk about self care, health, wellness, and what that really looks like. And
Okay.
taking action, taking deliberate action to reclaim our life.
Now, can they find information on your website?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to put
JackieHarding.com.
Yes, I want to pull that back up so people know how they can connect with. And anybody, are you calling for anyone to be able to sign up to be able to be a part of the Monday nights at 7 p.m.?
It only requires $21.99,
It is.
$21.99, a little more than $1 a day.
I
And
love it.
and
Yes,
it's for the commitment. It's for the commitment. It's I
I love
just,
it.
just commit to your health, commit to your well-being, take back your life.
I love that because you know what? Right now, as just as we've been talking, with this administration, we don't know what's happening with healthcare, but all we do know is things are changing rapidly, and we're getting ready to go into a new year. And a lot of households, a lot of people are going to be affected by that. And so, with your initiative, Take Back Your Health, Reclaim Your Life, it's really putting people in the driver's seat to make sure that they make them a priority and not solely depend on a system that's going to more than likely fail us, and we become so dependent on a system that at any point things can be different. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and another thing too, 21.99. For those that's out there, you may think, "Oh, I don't have it. Oh, it's a lot." But I challenge you, for those that are out there, something that can be of help to you. We won't find the value in ourselves to invest in ourselves. Something that's less than $1 a day. So my challenge is, how are you spending $1 a day? If you had to look at your life, is it something that's going to benefit you in this health walk so we can extend our lives? Or is it something that you just, I gotta have it at all costs? It don't matter. And a lot of times I think that our value systems might be a little out of alignment. So I leave that challenge out there for anyone in the community that's listening. Really, what are you sowing into that's reaping a benefit of harvest for you? Because a lot of times we're sowing into things that's causing harm to us. We're giving our monies away to people that don't care about us, that want to take us out of here. And the thing is, so I challenge you, take back your health and reclaim your life for less than $1 a day. Make sure you go to www.jackieharden.com. And if nothing else, start just looking into it and see how it can align with the very thing you need that you don't know you need. So, that's my thought for the day. That's my look, give back for the day, right? For us to really see what are we investing our money into, which, as we if you go back in some other morning brews, you will find out that we have the power, we just don't know we have the power. And it shows up in our dollars, how we're spending them. It shows up in our voices and how we're using it. So I'm gonna leave that with the people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to leave with those that are listening? And I encourage everyone to make sure you go to Amazon.com. I'm going to put this up, but I want to ask the question while I pull this up. Is there anything you want to leave with those that are listening that may be in a place they don't know who to trust? They're ashamed at even what they may be experiencing. And so they're just, they're looking for the courage to be able to step up and reclaim their life. Is there anything you want to leave with them?
Sure. I would say to everyone listening, you are worth it. You're worthy of love. And I encourage you to love yourself enough to tell your truth, because really that's where the transformation happens. It happens when you're honest with yourself, when you do the work to forgive yourself.
Mm.
and you find the courage to really love, to heal, and to love,
Wow.
you you deserve it. And I will say this, one of the quotes that I live by: we don't get the life we deserve, we get the life we create.
Oof.
So what are you creating?
Wow. That's powerful. Please repeat that again so we can make sure that they receive this. And then I want to type it so it's there for them to see it.
We don't get the life we deserve, we get the life we create.
Wow. Give
It's
me a
up to
second. I'm going to
us.
post that. I'm going to put that out because I want them to really be able to see that. We don't get the life we deserve.
We get the life we create. So ask yourself, what are you creating? When you walk in the room, what do people experience?
Mm. Wow. All right, guys, bear with me. I'm not typing as fast as I probably need to. It's just what are you creating? You said, right?
Yes.
Wow. Let me just add your name. That's powerful. What are, let me make sure it's correct. I just want to make sure it's correct. Okay. Let me just post that. I just want to put that up so people can see. We don't get the life we deserve. We get the life we create. Ask yourself, what are you creating?
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Speak it into existence, the life you desire. Ah, and on that note, I just want to say in our final sip, truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it sits in silence, waiting for someone brave enough to say that this is what really happened. And that's what you did. You couldn't allow yourself to sit in silence any longer. You There was something in this little girl that there was a need to know, because it was about legacy. It was about how your life was going to become. But I think it's something far greater than that too. God knew. I just believe he knew, even as a little girl, what was in you was going to be the very thing that was going to allow so many others to be free, even in their walk. So I just want to say thank you for trusting enough to put your words to paper during as you were journaling, as you were trying to figure your own life out. Thank you for just sharing it with the world, and for those to be able to have access to your story, that they may find themselves in a pathway to find courage in their own stories, to step up and no longer sit in silence, and to break that cycle. So thank you. And thank you for sharing our morning brew with Germaine.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. Yes, this has been a
Anytime,
joy.
anytime. And we definitely have to have you back so you can talk more about um, take back your health and reclaim your life. So we could definitely talk more about that. And you should also think about packaging that. For those that can't get to you, you leave something with them still in book form. So
Absolutely. Yes.
think about that. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Hold on one second. We're just going to wrap it all up. And I just want to thank you all so much in the community for chiming in, and really being a part of Morning Brew with Germaine, giving us the space to allow our authors to share their stories. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It takes a lot of courage for those to be able to step out and trust that they won't, get backlash, or people won't have all these crazy opinions when they've never walked a day in that person's shoes. So, for all those that are out there that are taking the next step to put your story in book format, I commend you. I commend you and I thank you. And the thing is, one thing that she did talk about, that Jackie talked about, it was something she needed to do for herself. And in the process of doing that for herself, she also found that there was a release even for her mom, even for her daughter, and even for her grandmother, even if she didn't want to be able to share in the story. But I just take my hat off. I don't have a hat on today, but I just want to thank and honor those, and especially Jackie, for coming on and sharing her story. And I am so proud of her and so excited that she is paying it forward and being able to help those that are challenged in dealing with their own pain and their own trauma. So, once again, Authors Brew Friday on Morning Brew with Germaine. You just got to stop by to be a part of the conversation, and all are welcome. Join the community. Stop by for coffee with me, okay? And on that note, thank you guys so much. I am going to leave you with how you can be of support to Morning Brew with Germaine through Buy Me a Coffee for as little as $1 a day. Buymeacoffee.com/, Morning Brew with Germaine. I'm going to leave this with you as we close out, and I will see you in the next coffee break. Okay? Have a great day. Thank you so much. Welcome to Morning Brew with your girl Germaine on Buy Me a Coffee. Every cup you buy helps fuel inspiration, conversations, and creative content for our growing community. So grab a seat, stop by for a coffee break, sip with us, and thank you so much for pouring into purpose with me. Morning Brew, I'll see you in the next coffee break. Little technical difficulties here.